You do not fully know the person you think you know. That is a difficult sentence to sit with. It is uncomfortable in the way that only truth can be uncomfortable, pressing against the places inside you that have been carefully arranged around a version of someone that may not be entirely accurate. And part of you already knows this. Part of you has known it for longer than you have been willing to admit out loud. God says today is the day you stop pretending otherwise. There is someone in your life who has been given a level of access to you that was earned through a presentation of themselves that was not fully honest. They showed you what they needed you to see. They gave you enough of the truth to build your trust and enough of the performance to keep it. They learned early on what you responded to, what made you feel safe, what made you open up, what made you lower the walls you spent years learning how to build. And then they used that knowledge. Not in an obvious way. Not in a way that set off the alarms you would have recognized immediately. But in a slow and patient and deliberate way that only becomes visible when you take several steps back and look at the full picture of what has been happening over a long stretch of time. Look at the full picture today. God says, I have been trying to show you this for a while now. I have been sending you signals through your own spirit, through the quiet unease that visits you after certain conversations, through the feeling that something is slightly off that you keep dismissing because you cannot point to a single specific thing that proves it. Through the dreams that leave you unsettled in the morning even when you cannot remember the details. Through the moments when something they said did not quite line up with something they said before and you noticed it but told yourself you were being paranoid. You were not being paranoid. You were being perceptive. And there is a difference between paranoia and discernment that is very important for you to understand right now. Paranoia is fear creating threats where none exist. Discernment is the Holy Spirit illuminating threats that are real. What you have been experiencing is not the former. It is the latter. And the fact that you kept talking yourself out of it, kept explaining it away, kept finding generous interpretations for things that deserved a harder look, that is not a flaw in your character. That is the evidence of a heart that loves deeply and therefore requires more evidence before it is willing to accept that the person it loves is not who they claim to be. But God says the evidence has been accumulating. And today He is bringing it to your attention all at once. This person, the one whose face just came to your mind as you have been reading these words, has a version of themselves that you have never been permitted to see. A version that comes out when you are not in the room. A version that speaks about you in ways that would rearrange everything you believe about where you stand with them. A version that makes choices and has conversations and participates in things that are in direct contradiction to the image they have carefully constructed for your benefit. They are not the same person behind your back that they are in front of your face. And the gap between those two versions is wider than you have imagined. God says, I want you to understand something about why this kind of deception is particularly dangerous. It is not just dangerous because of the specific things they are hiding, though those things matter. It is dangerous because of what it does to your perception of reality over time. When someone you trust is presenting you with a version of the world that has been edited to serve their agenda, you begin making decisions, emotional decisions, relational decisions, life decisions, based on information that is incomplete at best and deliberately misleading at worst. You have been navigating your life with a map that someone else drew. And they drew it to lead you where they needed you to go, not where God was trying to take you. Think about the decisions you have made in recent seasons that were influenced by this person. The things you chose and the things you declined. The directions you moved toward and the ones you moved away from. The opportunities you considered and the ones you dismissed. How much of that navigation was quietly shaped by the input of someone whose counsel was not coming from a place of genuine investment in your well-being but from a place of personal agenda dressed in the language of care and advice? God says look at it honestly. Not with the intention of drowning in regret about the past, but with the clarity that allows you to make different choices going forward. Because that is the only reason God reveals things like this. Not to wound you. Not to make you feel foolish for trusting. But to hand you back your own map. The one He drew. The one that leads where He has been trying to lead you all along before the interference of someone else's agenda started redirecting your steps. Now let me tell you what this person does when you are not around. They talk about you. Not in the way that people who love you talk about you, with pride and with protectiveness and with the kind of warmth that comes from genuinely wanting good things for someone. They talk about you in ways designed to shape how others see you. They share details about your life, details that you shared with them in confidence, in contexts and with framings that serve their narrative rather than your truth. They present edited versions of your story to people whose perception of you matters, not because they want those people to understand you but because they want those people to see what they need them to see. They are managing your reputation from the outside while managing your trust from the inside. And they have been doing it with a skill that speaks to how long they have been practicing this particular form of manipulation. There are people in your life right now whose opinion of you has been shaped not by their own direct experience of who you are but by the version of you that this person constructed and delivered to them. You have been walking into rooms carrying a weight you did not know was there, an invisible impression that preceded you and colored everything before you even opened your mouth. God says that ends now. Because light does not coexist indefinitely with this kind of darkness. Truth does not stay buried forever in the presence of a God who is truth in His very nature. And the season of hidden operation that this person has been enjoying in your life is coming to a close not because of anything you are going to do but because of what God is about to do. He is turning on the lights. Not gradually. Not in a way that gives them time to rearrange things before you see the full picture. But in the way that God moves when He has decided that enough is enough and that His child has been in the dark for longer than is acceptable. Suddenly. Completely. In a way that leaves no room for the kind of creative reinterpretation they have become skilled at deploying whenever the truth gets too close to the surface. You are going to see them clearly. And when you do, your first instinct may be to question yourself. To ask how you missed it. To go back through every memory and examine it through this new lens and feel the particular grief that comes from realizing that something you thought was one thing was actually something else entirely. Give yourself permission to feel that grief. It is real and it is valid and it deserves space. But do not stay in it too long. Because God says the grief of this revelation is not the main event. It is the doorway. It is the necessary passage between the version of your life that was being quietly manipulated and the version of your life that is fully free. And freedom, real freedom, the kind that comes from finally seeing clearly and finally knowing the truth and finally being able to make decisions from a place of full information rather than carefully managed half-truths, that freedom is worth the grief of getting there. You are worth the grief of getting there. Now God wants to speak to something else. Because this is not only about the person who has been deceiving you. It is also about you. About the part of you that kept sensing something was wrong and kept choosing not to trust that sensing. About the part of you that has been trained over time to doubt your own discernment, to explain away your instincts, to prioritize keeping the peace over honoring the quiet voice inside you that was trying to protect you. God says I gave you that voice. I placed that discernment inside you as a gift and as a tool. It is not anxiety. It is not overthinking. It is not the result of past wounds making you see danger where none exists. It is my spirit bearing witness within your spirit about the nature of what is around you. And every time you dismissed it, every time you talked yourself out of it, every time you chose someone else's comfort over your own God-given inner knowing, you were not being gracious. You were being unsafe with the very gift I gave you to keep you protected. Learn to trust it again. It has never lied to you. Every time it spoke, it was right. And you know that now when you look back with the kind of honesty that this moment is requiring of you. Every time you felt that something was off, it was off. Every time you sensed a shift in the atmosphere around a particular person or situation, the shift was real. Every time the still small voice said pay attention and you chose instead to look away, it was trying to give you information you needed. Start listening. Going forward, start listening before the evidence becomes undeniable. Before the situation has progressed so far that the cost of course correcting is significantly higher than it would have been at the beginning. Before you have extended more trust than was warranted and more access than was earned and more grace than the situation deserved. Your discernment is a gift. Honor it. God says I am doing something significant in your life right now as all of this comes to light. I am not just removing what was false. I am creating space for what is true. Every person who operated with hidden motives in your inner circle occupied a space that was never rightfully theirs and blocked the space from being filled by someone whose motives are clean and whose love for you is genuine and whose presence in your life would actually advance rather than quietly undermine what I have been building in you. There are people waiting to enter your life who are nothing like the ones being removed. People whose yes means yes and whose presence does not require you to be constantly reading between the lines. People who celebrate your victories without a competing emotion running underneath the celebration. People who speak about you the same way whether you are in the room or not. People whose counsel comes from a genuine desire to see you flourish rather than from a need to keep you dependent on their guidance. They are coming. They are already being positioned. But they cannot fully enter what is still occupied. And so God is doing the necessary work of clearing what needs to be cleared, removing what needs to be removed, and closing what needs to be closed so that what is genuinely meant for your life has room to arrive and room to grow. Trust the clearing even when it is painful. Trust the ending even when the ending is grieving something you genuinely loved. Because what you loved was not entirely a lie. There were real moments. There were genuine connections within the deception. And losing even a distorted version of something meaningful is a real loss that deserves real acknowledgement. God is not asking you to pretend it did not matter. He is asking you to trust that what is coming matters more. And what is coming is rooted in truth in a way that nothing built on a partial foundation ever could be. You deserve relationships that do not require you to work this hard to figure out what is real. You deserve people around you who are the same person in every room. You deserve a circle that does not drain you of energy trying to navigate what is actually happening beneath the surface of every interaction. You deserve the real thing. And God is clearing the way for you to finally have it. This message found you today. Not by accident. Not by coincidence. But because God saw you carrying something you were not meant to carry for one more day and He decided that today was the day He would hand you the truth you needed to finally put it down. So put it down. Walk forward. Keep your eyes open. Trust your spirit. And know that the God who revealed this to you today is the same God who is already walking ahead of you into the season that comes next, making sure that what is waiting for you there is worthy of you. You are protected. You are loved. You are not alone in any of this. And the best of what God has for you has not yet arrived. But it is on its way. This message was for you. And now that you have received it, everything begins to change.